Well, good evening, everyone. Looking forward to being here. Again, those, I know a number of you, for those that don't know me, I am newly appointed Executive Director of Geauga County Job and Family Services. Very much appreciate the commissioners putting their trust in me and feeling that I was the right fit to sort of lead that organization in the future. And I every day challenge myself to do that, and I ask the community to continue to hold me accountable and make sure that I'm doing my job the best that I can. So with that, if you read the papers, I was asked to look into this situation, and I did it to the best of my abilities, and I've continued to do that. I guess it didn't really come out till later. I had written a response to Commissioner Spitaleri on December 23rd. I believe he asked me about 12 days before that to look into the situation. I did as best as I can, but also with respecting, I'm a lawyer, respecting my ethical boundaries, and also understanding what my role is within the bounds of the law as a Job and Family Services Director and what we do there. So I typically don't go off script, I typically don't read, but I really put a lot of time and thought into my response, and so this is what I went on the record with saying, well, what my thoughts are and what our jurisdiction was. So if you don't mind, I'll try to not make it as boring, but I would like to read my response because that's what I had really put my thoughts into. So bear with me. Dear Commissioner Spitaleri, as your newly appointed Executive Director of Job and Family Services, I appreciate the trust you have placed in me to look into our concerns over the distribution of the Communities That Care Youth Survey in our local schools. Ever since receiving your letter on December 11th, 2014, I've hit the ground running and have been doing my best to learn how we've gotten here. Accordingly, I wanted to submit to you an update on my findings thus far before the holidays have come upon us. Apparently, this is the fourth time that this survey has been implemented in our schools. The first time, I believe, was in around 2002. The survey comes through the Geauga County Board of Mental Health and Recovery Services and is then distributed to our 7 school districts: Berkshire, Cardinal, Chardon, Kenston, Ledgemont, Newberry, and West Geauga. There are 2 versions of the survey. One is for 4th and 5th graders, and one is for 6th through 12th graders. To my knowledge, as of now, and at the time of December 23rd, at least 5 school districts have already administered the survey. It is my understanding that Chardon is not going to administer the survey at this time, and I have not yet heard back from the West Geauga School District. At least at this point in time, we do not have to worry about West Geauga taking the survey since the schools are on winter break. The Communities That Care Youth Survey belongs to the Center of Substance Abuse Prevention, which is an arm of the federal government's Office of Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, otherwise known as SAMHSA. The survey was developed by Drs. J. David Hawkins and Richard Catalano at the University of Washington's Social Development Research Group. The survey is promoted as a coalition-based survey that uses a risk and protective factor approach to assess youth problem behaviors such as violence, delinquency, school dropout, and substance abuse. While I do believe our schools generally believe that gathering certain data on our youth in some of the above-mentioned areas is helpful, what is clear from the public outcry that you have had to endure is that the process that is being currently utilized to implement the surveys may be flawed. And that is, in 1, it did not entail mental health board or school board review. And number 2, does not provide enough information to our Geauga County parents about the survey and what kind of questions will be asked of their children. It is my understanding that out of the 7 school districts in Geauga County, only the Chardon School District currently has a requirement that all school surveys must be approved by their school board before being implemented in the schools. I find this to be a great check and balance approach and suggest that maybe all of our school districts should have this policy. I understand that our school boards cannot be involved in the process of approving everything that happens in our schools, but this survey is certainly not part of everyday school curriculum and touches on some pretty sensitive subjects that pierce into our Geauga County homes. It is also my understanding that the survey was not put before the mental health board for approval before disbursement. This again would have been yet another opportunity for scrutiny before the survey was sent out countywide. And while I know that versions of the survey have been distributed in the past to our students, that does not necessarily mean that we shouldn't regularly take a look at what we are doing and ask ourselves, are we doing this the right way? And my thought on that, as I go a little off cuff, is we are under new leadership, and I think we should always, as public officials, myself included, always be asking ourselves if there are better, more efficient ways of doing things. And just because we've done something before doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong, but it also always doesn't necessarily mean it's right. And that's the point that I was trying to get across there. This is why using the boards to help assess some of the decisions that are being made on the county level is such a good concept. This is why board members are elected/appointed to the positions in their first place. Plus, many of these board members change over time, and new ones that come in may bring in new and fresh perspectives to old ideas. And with respect to the second flaw in the implementation process of the survey, it is evident that our Geauga County parents are not being afforded enough information about the survey, nor given a fair opportunity to access the survey before their children take it. Since this survey is asking fairly invasive questions that peer into our homes, shouldn't the parents know that? Parents have a right to know what is happening to their children while they are in school. It is my suggestion going forward that a survey such as this should be easily accessible by the parents. For example, maybe posted online on the respective school district websites. This would allow for parents to see the questions and make a fully informed choice and decision before they choose to have their child take the survey. Or maybe it would even spark an ever so important conversation between parents and their children about some of these very sensitive issues. Isn't that really the ultimate goal anyway, getting parents to talk about these issues with their kids? At the end of the day, the Geauga County Department of Job and Family Services does not have jurisdiction to file an official complaint against the Geauga County Board of Mental Health and Recovery Services or against its executive director, Mr. Adams. Our Children's Services Division is charged with addressing issues of abuse, neglect, and dependency with parents, guardians, or custodians of the children that are in their direct care. That is not the situation that we are dealing with here. And if anyone has any questions about that, legally or otherwise, I am an open book. So, just on that regard, as far as our jurisdiction, and I'm happy to explain that further to anybody. However, due to the fact that your concern directly impacts our children in the community, I still wanted to look into the matter and share with you some of my findings and potential solutions. Also, if you have any further concerns about the survey being ministered again, a legal injunction, this is going back to December, legal injunction may be something you could seek through the prosecutor's office, as that is the commissioner's attorney or counsel. It should be known that these types of county-wide surveys are pretty commonplace. I've actually since discovered that there is another somewhat similar survey, and this is since I wrote the letter through, I think it's the health district, that does somewhat similar things, slightly different questions, but there's more than one. So it's not just here, it's coming across the board, and there's multiple ones, and they come at multiple times. And that was another concern that I had. If we keep asking our kids these questions multiple times, what are we doing? Is there any way maybe we can limit this to one, different kind of survey, more narrow in scope or something? But just so you know, this is not the only one that goes out to our schools and our kids. I specifically made calls to Lake, Ashtabula, and Portage counties and discovered that they all administer some form of an evidence-based survey that asks questions about substance abuse, peer pressure, and the like. I do believe that there's some significant value to having access to the information that some of these questions ask, because it will tell us how we can address certain identified issues in our schools. However, and this is the key point, I think in order to properly gain this information, we must respect the rights of our parents and children and take advantage of the check and balances that we already have in place in government. It is my understanding that the Board of Mental Health and Recovery Services will be holding an open meeting, hence this, sometime in mid-January 2015 to further discuss the survey. I suggest that our school district, school board members, and respective superintendents be notified of the meeting, which is formally scheduled, when it's formally scheduled, so they can provide further input into this issue. I also will be happy to attend the meeting out here. Thank you again, Commissioner Spitaleri, for giving me the responsibility, and I hope at least some of this information is helpful. Hope you have a joyous holiday season. So that's what I wrote. Again, in the question and answer period, if anyone has questions, I'll be happy to come up here and try to answer them the best that I can. I tried to be thoughtful about it and bring some things to light, and I hope that is satisfactory to the public. Thank you.